R.C. Slocum joins us on 365 Sports. Does not need introduction, but of course the former Texas A&M head coach and has been a part of the college football playoff. Coach, thank you very much for your time. It's now to 12. If they're going to 12, your thoughts about how difficult or will it be easier to do 12 rather than 4? And thank you so much again for your time.
Well, I think it'll be easier. You got more options there. But there will be the questions at the end of some teams. There may be more teams that you feel got left out, but it certainly creates more options there. And I'm pleased that we've got more. I thought 4 was a bad number because we had 5 major conferences, and then you got the independents. I thought when you start the football season, a coach should be able to go in the room and tell his guys, if we win all our games, we're going to be in. If we're the conference champions, won our championship, then we'll be in. And the way it was, you could have a great season and still get left out at the end, and that was really hard, those meetings. So this will give more flexibility to the committee, but I don't think it'll eliminate all the questions at the end. There'll probably still be some questions.
Coach, what is your assessment of Mike Elko as a person who had an Aggie dad and has followed the program for a very long time? I think he's the most like you of any coach that they've had since you. Am I off there?
Well, I wouldn't want to compare him to me, but I'm a Mike Elko fan. I think he's a smart guy. I like to. I don't know how to say this in a positive. I think he's a no frills kind of guy. What you see is what you get, and he's going to coach the kids. He's going to be honest with the kids. He's going to work them, and they're going to play hard. And it's what my idea of a program should be. I've been very impressed with how he's approached things here and then how we've played. We could very easily be an undefeated team right now.
What were your thoughts on what you saw from young Marcel Reed and the heroics coming in that game in the third quarter the other night? Obviously, offense is struggling, and he takes over and gets a lot of honors here in the past few days as a result of that. How do you think that kind of changes not only the result the other night, but maybe even the big picture as well for A&M on the offense?
He made the difference in the game. I mean, it was like he flipped the switch when he came in, and he just presents problems. He's really an effective runner. And then he turns around and throws a 54-yard pass. It's dead on the money, right down the middle, So he's got a lot of tools, and he's really an impressive young man. I mean, if you listen to his interviews, and he has it all together. I'm very impressed with him.
So, they've been on this nice run, as you mentioned Notre Dame earlier, but what do you see? The defense looks like to me that they don't care who they hit or how hard they hit them. They're going to play that way. Is that what you've seen most of the year?
Yeah, I think the defense plays very hard, and I think they're talented. That front group, front 7 is big and physical and plays hard, and they're tough, and I think we're getting better in the secondary. But we've got the ability to put some pressure. The other day, LSU is a talented football team. They had, I think, 30-something yards rushing for the whole ball game.
Coach, they've got a quarterback situation. It's not a bad one. Connor Wigman's a really good player. They may not have the right match of talent at receiver for him, but Marcel Reed, he's a special type of athlete. You've had to deal with this many times in your career about when it's time to make a quarterback change. Is it time to just turn it to Marcel Reed and let him run, or do they keep doing what they're doing a little bit?
I don't know. The coaches they see it every day in practice, and they're in the meetings. They know what the capabilities of the guys are. And I trust Elko's judgment and offensive coordinator. I just trust them to use it. And there have been teams that have done this before, where you kind of put the guy's got the hot hand in there. If he's not on that day, I've always said this. You look at pro baseball, and you got great pitchers in there, and they have some days that they just don't quite have it. So you put another guy in. You don't sit there and go down the tubes with a guy just because he's one of your good pitchers. And so I don't see any reason why you couldn't do that with quarterbacks. Ideally, you have one guy that was an old saying coaching. If you don't have a starter, then you don't have a good one. Man, I don't know if I agree with that. But I think it's just getting the feel. I don't know who will start the next game. I think there's some positive to that, too. South Carolina doesn't know who will start the next game. And so they've got to really prepare for two different styles of quarterback.
Coach, you see the expansion, the changes in college football with NIL, transfer portal. Now you have all these conferences that have gotten big where not everybody's going to play each other and there's no divisions or whatever else. What are your thoughts about that? That it depends on, your record at the end of the year. You could have a 3 or 4-way tie, whatever, but there are no divisions. Have the conferences gotten too big, or do you like what you see now with this change of where everyone's going?
I think and I've watched it now for a long, long time, and it's been in a constant state of evolution. I coached in the old Southwest Conference. I coached at one time in the Big 8 Conference. I coached in the Big 12. And just watching, I coached in the Pac-10 when I was out of Southern Cal. And it's a constant, and I think we still have some more evolution. One of the things that we have to do right now, there has to be some mechanism where we get consistency in what is allowed in the NIL window. Right now, it's the wild, wild west out there, and there's no real from conference to conference, from school to school. There's just not. We got some. I think have to get some NFL type rules on transferring, on the free agency type thing that you have in the NFL, and then they have a salary cap. Like you divide it up however you want to, but you can only spend this much money on players. And right now, we don't have that in an effective way. We don't have that, and so that's the next big thing, I think. And then a lot of people just don't totally understand college athletics. You have fans out there and people that talk about it. At most schools, most of the big A&M type schools, most of those schools, football makes money and makes quite a bit of money. Basketball at some of those schools will make a little money. Everything else loses money. So you're talking about scholarships, you're talking about travel, you're talking about maintaining baseball fields, you're talking about flying softball teams, tennis teams, track teams, and housing them in hotels and doing all, and and coaching salaries, and then the maintenance of your softball field, your baseball field, all those things. So there's a whole lot of money involved in that, and just the scholarships. We've done a poor job over the years of really telling the story. Like those poor players, they don't get anything. Well, they do. They getting a full scholarship and tutors provided to you, strength coaches provided to you, all those things. And, in recent years, there's been a cost of living where kids were getting here at A&M about $6,000 a year cash, in addition to having everything paid for. And those of us that went to school back in the day, I was on scholarship and just so thankful that I had a chance to go to college and have all my tuition, housing, all of that, and food paid for. And so that's a big number, though. When you take 70 football players, and then you got other people around, managers, trainers, all that. That's a whole lot of money that you're talking about. So it's a little misleading. Football is making a lot of money. But that money now is going to have to be spread among those other sports. And so we got a lot of things that we still have to do to get this worked out where it is workable and something that across the board schools can do. And I think there's going to be a big separation in what level schools play. I think it's going to really draw some lines in terms of who will be the major players and then who will fall back a little bit.
With the way things are, and if you were still coaching, and I know you've been an interim AD a couple of different times, but if you were coaching in this time, would it be even more of a challenge with all the changes, or do you think that you would be able to eat it up?
Oh, I think it's more of a challenge, without a doubt. The stability of your roster, of bringing in, like every year I would have to deal with losing some seniors that were good players, but I'd have more young players coming in. I'd have some guys I had around for a while that were moving up into a leadership senior type role. And now that whole thing, a lot of places, I think there's at least like 50% turnover from one year to the next. So you got all new guys. And then I think the mentality, over the years, I had quite a few players who would come in as a freshman. They've been great players in junior high, great players in high school, and they come in and expect to play immediately. And they go in and you know, they can't, they're not quite ready to play. They need some coaching. And so, you say, sorry, I had one young man, I won't call his name. I hadn't let him live it down. I was in a meeting, and I said, where is so-and-so? They said, well, Coach, I think he's that Highway 6 look. He's leaving. So I raced over to the door. I goes, what are you? He's stuffing his suitcase. I said, what are you doing, man? He said, Coach, I can't play. I'm going to go somewhere right. I said, you can play here. You're not playing right now. You take two great players ahead of you. And so he stayed. He started 3 years, went to the NFL. But at the moment, you know, he wasn't ready to fight through it. And I think that's a lesson that it's really important for young people to learn. You can't, you know, as soon as you take your first job, if things aren't just like you want, you can't just pack up and leave and go somewhere else. You know, working through problems is a great lesson for young people to learn. And I think we've created environments that you got two kind of guys. So one guy who's getting paid a lot, he wants and had a great year. He wants to get in the portal and see if he can get paid more. And the other guy thinks he should be paid more or play more. He gets in there to go find a better deal. So you create a lot of movement and a lot of confusion.
As you know, you're good friends with Phil Bennett. He played during the time you were there. Also was a coach on your staff when you were on the A&M staff. He joins us every Monday. He is a live wire, as you know. What can you tell us?
I know him well.
What can you tell us about Phil Bennett, the football player, and then Phil Bennett, the early on in his career assistant coach?
Well, I've known Phil. The fun thing with coaching, you got guys like that. I've known him since he was probably 17 years old. He came in here as a freshman, and he was tough. He was brought up tough. I think his dad. I knew his dad was like a pipeline welder or something like that. He had a couple of older brothers, and he was brought up. He has a lot of toughness to him. He started for us defensive end and was a very good player. Stayed on as a graduate assistant coach, and then became a coach and became a full-time coach. And then later came back, worked as a coordinator for me. And he's someone that I talk to him, probably once a week or every other week at least. And very proud of him. He's a football guy. He knows as much football as anybody around that I know.
Coach, I asked you earlier about changing quarterbacks. I'm curious from your perspective. You went through, I don't know, controversies or changes, but maybe more than a lot of coaches do. I mean, even Bucky Richardson had to fend off Lance Pavlis, and you had Randy McCown and Brandon Stewart, and on down the line. What was the hardest decision at quarterback you ever had to make?
Well, they're all hard. You know, like I say, some people say, well, if you don't have, well, that's not, sometimes kids bring different things to the table. In the case of Randy, was a great player for us, got hurt. Brandon was a great player. He was, a lot of people don't remember this, but he went to Tennessee in the same class with Peyton Manning. And so he was there. He's really a talented player, but he had Peyton Manning in front of him. So he had to make a decision if he's going to stay there 4 years and wait for Peyton to maybe get hurt. So he ended up transferring. His coach actually called me, Philip Fulmer, said that, I want to make, would you? Well, I said, yeah, I'd love to have. I tried to recruit him. So he came in here, and he was a great player in our program. And I had two good guys there with he and Randy. And then when Randy got hurt, the year we won the Big 12 championship in '98, we were so fortunate that Brandon had the character to stay in the program, stay working, stay ready, and he stepped up. He won the Big 12 championship and played really well in that game. And so that you got to have someone that can do that, because in today's game, and it's been that way for a while, you never knew. You're one play away from having to play the backup quarterback. And so you better have two or three or more.
Well, and you're right. And now you got to, if they don't play right away, then like you said, they may dart. And back in the day, they couldn't do that. Thank goodness, even though Stewart transferred, he ended up being there for you. Last thing, RC, from me, obviously a year where A&M has gotten over the loss to Notre Dame. They have this momentum. South Carolina's really, really good, got a lot of great talent, so who knows what's going to happen. What would it mean, in your opinion, later on, A&M in Texas, if A&M can not only win that game, but also have their best year in the SEC since Johnny Manziel this specific year?
I think it'd be great. Think it'd be so great for our former students. Our alumni have done a great job of supporting this program. They've been through some hard times. We've really enhanced our facilities. We have great facilities at A&M. And they've done everything they can do, and they deserve a winner. And I'm happy for them that it looks like we're on the road to having a winner. They've had enough disappointments, and I hope we can finish this thing up, have a big game here Thanksgiving weekend. But we got work to do. This game this weekend is going to be a real challenge for us.
No question.
And we just got to take them one at a time. I know Coach will do that, but I'm excited for the program. These people deserve it. They've done everything we've asked of them, and have been great supporting the Aggies. And it's a great the atmosphere Saturday night. I've been to almost all the good ones, and there cannot be anywhere a better atmosphere to play football or to watch football than Kyle Field was last Saturday night.
Coach, thank you very much for who you are, also for your time and the success you had at A&M and elsewhere. Thanks for your time, and have a great week. We appreciate it.
All right. Thank you. See you later.
RC Slocum, Texas A&M football coach.